Yo, what's good? Welcome back to another video on the channel. A little bit of a shorter video today because we just took in the greatest sporting event of all time, the World Cup final between France and Argentina. And we had to go ahead and get our thoughts about this right away. And, unless you want to say any opening words here, I just want to get straight into it, man, because I'm excited.
No, yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely. You got to get right into it.
So, without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and pass this one off to you first because I'm dying to know what you got to say about this. France versus Argentina match just ended a little bit ago. What is your initial thoughts to Messi winning the World Cup?
Immortality. This was singly the greatest story I've ever witnessed, second to the Bible. This was almost biblical. This story of Lionel Messi, his final World Cup, starting off with a loss to Saudi Arabia. A lot of people already writing him off, already thinking it's over. So the Saudis handled Messi. What was he gonna do? And what did we say the episode right after? He wouldn't lose another game, and he did not lose another game.
It's very true.
This was the greatest performance from one single player in World Cup history. He's won, I think, player of the match in every single game he played up until the final. One golden ball, was a goal away from golden boot. And all respects to Kylian Mbappe. I thought he played better in the final. But we witnessed number one and number two greatest final performances in sports history within the same game. We witnessed the greatest spectacle to ever grace Earth. This was something we were blessed to watch. If you got to watch this, it's a blessing because it's something we could have never expected. I mean, the drama of this game where Argentina go up 2-0, like we said before, many times before, the most dangerous lead in football. And then Mbappe shreds it in 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, he scores 2 goals. And it sucks the atmosphere because I'm sitting here, I'm rooting for Argentina. I want it to finally come back to South America. And by God, my heart rate was at 150. It was not good. And going into extra time, there's, Argentina get the third. And then you're just thinking, this has to be it, right? This has to be done. And then there's a handball penalty. And then Mbappe gets a hat trick. A hat trick in the World Cup final. You can't write this. Going in to penalties for the World Cup, the first penalty shootout to decide a World Cup since 2006. And Emi Martinez does what he does. This guy is a penalty maestro. He lives for these moments. He has the moxie. This is what I've praised for him his entire Argentina tenure since he got to this team. That his moxie, his confidence is what drives this Argentina. Even though his save percentage within the game is not the best, it's not very good. I think it's a bit of a surprise that he got the Golden Gloves, but just his presence in penalty shootouts is unparalleled. And the way Argentina have changed from the team that couldn't get it done in penalties back-to-back times against Chile to now to have led in this World Cup, they were dominant in all their penalty shootouts. Other than one miss, these guys, they nailed it on the head every single time. And to see Lionel Messi drop to his knees and to finally have the thing that's been eluding him his entire career at the age of 34, I was speechless. I mean, it was the greatest thing I ever watched. I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say I was damn near bawling. Like this is absolutely beautiful to see, and I think this goes down as, like I said, the greatest sporting event, or not even non-sporting event, the greatest event ever held. And that's what we came. This is football. This is the world's game. I mean, it was. I mean, I could go on for hours, but I didn't want to hand it off to you because we watched it together, but we weren't talking very much.
Well, I mean, look, it was the greatest, not even just sporting event, it was the greatest event ever held. This final lived up to the hype and then some. And there's a lot of times you see big matchups like this that they're anticlimactic in a lot of sense. And for a large portion of the match, it looked like it was going to be just that, very anticlimactic. Argentina dominant pretty much for 70 minutes of the match. And then all of a sudden, it turns on its head and it becomes the greatest final we've ever seen and probably will ever see. And I could get into the tactics behind it, and and all that things. We'll get into that. But just as a match, it couldn't have been better. It just when you thought that the script and the storyline was too good to be true, it got even better. Messi in the extra time he scores to make it 3-2. You're thinking, oh, Messi, he scores the winning goal in the World Cup final. He's gonna lift the trophy. It's over 3-2. What a storyline. And then Mbappe gets a penalty and he gets his hat trick to make it just that much better. And then icing on the cake goes to penalties, and Argentina, they don't miss a penalty. They do what they do in penalty shootouts. And I like the point that you made. They have really took the monkey off their back of uh, losing penalty shootouts. Now they're dominant in penalty shootouts. If they get to a penalty shootout, they have 100% confidence in winning. It's basically their bread and butter at this point. They looked ice cool against the Dutch. That you always had a little bit of confidence that they were going to be able to get that done. And then, to be fair, obviously I'm rooting for Argentina, so I'm nervous. But you have the feeling that they're going to be able to get this done, and it's exactly what they did. And look, the greatest sporting event ever seen, and it's only right that it was the greatest final performance we've ever seen by these two players, Kylian Mbappe and Lionel Messi. I think you can make the argument that this was the best two individual final performances of all time. And obviously you probably give the edge to Mbappe for, number one, even in a losing effort. But Messi's right there with number two. What a performance it was for him, and what a performance it was for Mbappe. I mean, look, to start off with Messi, he finally does what Maradona did. He takes that monkey off of his back. If there's anything else that you had a doubt about Messi, look, for years it was he can't do it on the international level. He can't do it without Xavi and Iniesta in the midfield. Then he wins the Copa America last year, and now wins the World Cup. Brings it back to South America, something that they have any South American country has not been able to win since 2002. I wasn't even born. I was just getting born.
Just being born.
So it goes to show that he brought it back. He once again did the impossible. And there's no way you can doubt this man. There's nothing left on his resume that's unchecked. He has done it all. He cements himself as the greatest player of all time. And I highly doubt anybody is ever going to be able to match this resume. We'll probably get into that in a little bit. Mbappe, obviously he had a great game, but I don't see him being able to do what Messi has done throughout his whole career. There's a lot to live up to. There's a lot of things to check off. And it looks like Messi is now going to potentially win his 8th Ballon d'Or based on how this goes. That's just another thing to add to the list. What does this guy not have? He's done it all. It was a masterful performance. And it was, you almost have tears of joy. When you finally see Montiel score the game-winning penalty and you see Messi fall to his knees and just thank God, it looks like. It's hard not to find the romance in that. It's the beauty of this game. It's why we love this game. To be fair, I had tears of joy going down my face. And look, I'm not Argentinian. I love Messi and I love what he's done for the game, and I think he's the greatest player of all time. It's hard not to get romantic about football. This is the world's game, and it was the best final and potentially best game ever played. I don't know. It's going to be hard to top this, and I think all things considered, this was the best World Cup of potentially all time, but at least in my lifetime. It's better than 2010, better than 2014. And look, it had a lot of skepticism coming into the tournament. Qatar, what is it going to be like? Look, you take out the morality, and obviously it's hard to take that out. But you take out the fact that Qatar, what they were doing and building the stadiums, blah, blah, blah. In terms of just the football, the greatest World Cup I've ever seen in my generation, my lifetime. It lived up to the expectations and then some. I have nothing but good things to say. And you look at the whole World Cup, there's been upsets, there's been storylines, controversy, big moments. It had everything. It literally had everything. I can't think of a single thing this World Cup didn't have. And then it finishes off with the storybook ending. The master versus the apprentice. Messi versus Mbappe. And I mean, for a second there, it looked like France might be able to get it. And, the apprentice beats the master. But then Messi takes it back right at the last second on penalties. I mean, it's a fairy tale ending. FIFA could not have scripted it any better. They couldn't have scripted this any better. I mean, you could literally write down a script of what you wanted this World Cup to play out and look like. And it's even just the final, and you couldn't have wrote it any better. FIFA, you could go on FIFA 23 and play the World Cup final, and you couldn't even do what just happened. That's just how good it was. And look, I know we probably want to get into some tactical things about the game and our thoughts about the match itself. But that was just, I think, the initial thoughts of what we just took in. I'll give it back to you on anything you want to add.
Yeah, I was gonna say even if this were a movie script, you'd think it's cheesy. You'd think this is so played out. This is like like any other sports movie, but that's what it was. I mean, this is exactly what it was.
It's almost too
I
good to be
mean,
true.
it's literally if you were to tell somebody this that's never watched it, they think it's a lie because it's improbable, it's impossible. It's to for Argentina to be playing so well for 80 minutes,
75, 80 minutes. Yeah.
80, 75 minutes, and to give up two quick goals. Then I mean, Mbappe had been anonymous. I mean, he had basically not shown up.
I,
I saw
I,
tweets. I saw tweets that were coming out saying France are going to turn this around. They just subbed in Mbappe at halftime as if he was
bro.
not there.
I was literally preparing to come on here at 60, 70 minutes into the match, and I was prepared to talk about how Mbappe was fraud.
He's a fraudulent.
And now obviously the storyline is completely different, but it just goes to show, what a player he is and how quickly he can turn it on.
Yeah, be as soon as those two went in. I mean, Mbappe was like the nightmare man. Every time he touched the ball, dude, I almost fell over every time this guy would touch the ball because the Argentina defense was rattled,
They were.
and just how silky Mbappe. Because like, look, I'm not gonna let people get away with just saying Mbappe is just some speedster. He has such silk skill on the ball. How he glides through people is not just speed. That's not what this guy is. And the finishing on him, he reminds me a lot of Cristiano Ronaldo. He's a lot of that young player, the guy who can just find the net like no one else. This guy, from that touch, from his second goal, soon as that ball popped in the air, you knew it was in.
What
You
a
knew it was in.
finish. What a
The,
finish,
the,
man.
the finish on that, just the absolute peach of a hit that he got on that, it was immaculate.
I mean, Martinez
And
had no chance.
yeah, no, absolutely no chance. And to score three penalties, you know how hard that is. You know how hard it is to score three penalties because
Especially against Emi
the
Martinez.
Martinez, the psychological battle that goes into that, into where he has to guess. I mean, you're giving this guy Emi Martinez one of the best shot stoppers in penalties this entire World Cup. The
You say
chance
of
to
all
save it
time at
twice.
this point.
Yeah, after that performance, but dude, he rockets them all, and the poise. This guy feels no pressure. This guy literally lives for this moment at 23 years old. I mean, I give him a lot of flack for being behind of Messi, Ronaldo, as far as Ballon d'Or wise, but it is kind of hard when you're coming into this story. I mean, Mbappe is living in Messi's world. I mean, this is his story. Messi's the main character. I mean, as much as it goes like that, you have to. I'm always going to give Mbappe his credit. I mean, soon as that, I'm going to say my things during the game. Please, Mbappe, please fuck off. Like, can you stop? Can you stop? But after it, the entire his performance was immaculate. I mean, how many people can say they scored a hat trick in a World Cup final? Literally, the biggest game in football. There's not a bigger game. A World Cup final. You score a hat trick. And I'm kind of glad he did because I know there's a lot of people on Twitter saying, "Oh, Pessi, Lionel Pessi only scores pens." Because Mbappe scored 2 pens this game. I
And it
mean,
doesn't take
but
away from the performance at
it
all.
doesn't take away from his performance
It adds to
because
the greatness.
it doesn't. I mean, look, there are penalties and the poise you need, the pressure there is in the biggest game in football to slot 3 penalties. He scored 2 in regular time, one when in the penalty shootout. The poise it takes, the pressure that is for him to do it as coolly as he did, I don't ever take away from that. It's a hat trick in the final, and it's the greatest final performance I've seen, still above Messi's, even though Messi won. I think Argentina as a team played better than France.
Yeah,
I was
100%.
a bit shocking. I'll probably start getting into a bit more of the tactic situation and more like personnel. I was surprised that they subbed out Giroud at the 40th minute before the half. But
Yeah.
I think there was a little bit of reports that he might have been sick or he had a little bit of a hip issue, and I think that was a bit of a reason why it's unfortunate to see Giroud go out and what is going to be possibly
His
his
last
final
dance.
game,
Yeah.
his final game for this French team. Same with
Yeah.
Griezmann as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll be playing in the Euros in Germany, but
All props to
you know,
them
I
because I give them all the credit in the world. Those are two fantastic players and so
yeah
pivotal for this French team to get this far.
yeah. I mean, for as I mean, because this team was banged up. I mean, there was no doubt that this was a somewhat injured French team to have to rely on the veteran talent that they have. I mean, Giroud, all-time leading goal scorer. It's unfortunate that he wasn't able to get a little bit longer, but Dembele Hall of Shame performance. You had to take him off at the 40th minute. I mean, my God, I think his only contribution was to the
Was to
Argentina. He might be
he might be
Argentinian.
Argentina. He was man of the match for Argentina.
If he's like the president of FIFA, he said, "I feel Argentinian today." Like this guy, this guy had to come off, But yeah, I mean, tactics wise, I think Argentina had it pretty down for 75 minutes, but that's the shit of Argentina. There is no easy game for Argentina. They never like to make it easy. Other than the Croatia game, they never like to make it easy. These guys, they love making their fans, lose years of their life, because that's what I felt. I felt like I lost 5 years of my life watching this game.
I was shaking, chest was pounding. I couldn't text. I couldn't even hold my phone. I was pacing the room, and when the game down to the penalty shootout, I was on my knees. I was praying to God.
But I only realized how bad it was when as soon as they gave the penalty to Mbappe to tie it, I fell down literally to the floor, my chest on the floor. I could hear my heart bouncing off the floor like a basketball. I was like, by God, I think I'm gonna die, because I was like, dude, it's just stuff I couldn't believe, man. I mean, this
I
is
really
stuff that,
couldn't.
like, we've watched a lot of football games, a lot of matches. They usually, they cruise. I mean, you see teams that, oh, that's it, that's the end, that's where it'll finish.
It should
But
have
this
been.
one had no end. I mean, this one was just it was damn near biblical. Like I said, the second greatest story, only second to the Bible. This story, the entire tournament. This I cannot wait till ESPN release the documentary, because
You know
they
it's
were
coming.
recording this one out, because it's coming, and I hope they do release it, like, a couple years from now. Let it simmer, let it dwell, you know because it's not going to be the same thing for Michael Jordan. You wait those years until people somewhat kind of, they're up with Haaland, they're up with Mbappe, and then you remind the people just who was the king of football, who is the king of football. And you know, I'm glad I have family members that always tell me, that Messi was never it for Argentina. Maradona won a World Cup, all this, and Pele and all this shit. I'm glad I never have to hear it again. We talked about it last episode, that it's finally over. There is no debate. This is the greatest football player of all time and the greatest athlete ever. I think this is the greatest athlete ever. Untouched. Will never be topped. Unless, we're gonna have an alien or some shit come down. Someone out of this world would literally have to come to overcome this
But that's what
career.
Messi is. Messi isn't human. He's an alien. He ain't.
I,
Messi's not even a real person.
I don't know if he's a real person. And for someone just 5'7", little quiet Argentinian boy that came from Spain, did everything, won everything in club, and now to do it all for his country, it's impossible. It's impossible. And this is what I'll always love about sports, that if you look at the greatest of the great, the top of the echelon, the Mount Rushmore, they don't look like, some action figure character. They're not some, 6'6" monster or something, or like 7 foot guy that's ripped as all hell. The greatest sport athlete of all time is a little guy from Argentina. That's the beauty. I'll always love sports. That's what, it's inspirational of the game. And, you know, I think this was good for the entire, football. I think we really needed this to close out the year on Lionel Messi finally doing it. I I would think you're almost not human if you didn't feel a little happy to see Messi, embrace the moment, to finally have this moment. All the heartbreak.
That's what I was gonna say, because we've seen him in the opposite of this moment. Especially, look at 2014. He was in the same position where France were, going up and receiving those silver medals, and he won the golden ball of that tournament. He was easily the best player, but he had that moment of despair. He didn't get what he really wanted, and to see him actually get it today, to see him grab his golden ball award, walk over to the World Cup, which is sitting there on his beautiful pedestal, and kiss the trophy. I don't know how you couldn't, crack a smile. If you weren't crying, like some of us were. I don't know how you couldn't at least crack a smile, because it's too it's like you said, it's almost biblical. It's too good to be true. It's just mind blowing to a certain extent, and it's just beautiful. It's why we love sports, like you said. It is why we love sports, because of the storylines, how it can and pull your heartstrings, what it can do. It's just an absolutely beautiful moment. and it's just I'm just happy that it happened. You know.
And I did also want to give my props to a guy that because I this was always in the back of my head from the entire tournament, Paulo Dybala, that he didn't really play a huge role in this entire World Cup scheme. But I always remembered the quote that he had when he was at Juventus when he was still younger, that his late father, he promised his dad he'd bring a World Cup to Argentina. He promised them before on his deathbed, and today
He
he
delivered.
lived that. He delivered on his promise because a, a penalty shootout to decide the World Cup. A lot of people are not wanting to take those kicks. He's only been on the field for
For a
a couple
minute.
minutes,
Yeah, a couple
3 minutes.
minutes.
Basically cold, and we've seen that throughout history. That's not necessarily a good idea. We saw it with England in the Euro final. That you sub on Rashford, you sub on Sancho to take your pens because they're penalty specialists, and they
It
miss
didn't
because they're
work.
they're cold. They haven't really got to play. But Dybala, with the amount of confidence he had, dinks it down the middle, is just it's beautiful, and I'm glad he was able to get that moment. I'm sure his father, Maradona, all past deceased
We're
people are
looking
looking
down.
down, and they're proud and happy for this moment.
It's like you say. I mean, it's why we love football. The storylines, how it can pull on your heartstrings, everything about it, and that's why this moment it's so much more than just Messi winning his first World Cup, and that's enough to pull your heartstrings and be a beautiful moment. But when you look at these other things, Maradona, looking down on it, and stories like that with Paulo Dybala and his father, it's why you love football. It's why you love these types of moments. It's why we love this beautiful game. It's why we're going to continue to watch this game and continue to enjoy it. It's why some people, this was maybe the greatest moment of their entire life. This final, this moment. And it's not crazy to say that because that's how much it means to people, and not even just Argentinians, just people from around the world. That's how good of a moment it was. But I mean, unless you had anything else to say about the tactics, I would like to say a couple things, that I took away from the match in general.
Okay, yeah, I'll pass it on to you before I have my next thing I didn't want to talk about.
Well, we'll get into that. I guess I don't know what exactly you were going to say, but for me,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was a little bit dumbfounding to a certain extent because Argentina, they were the better team for this pretty much the first 70 minutes quite easily. I mean, France weren't even getting a sniff of the ball. Scaloni, tactically speaking, got it spot on. I mean, he had Kylian Mbappe. He was frustrated. He was flustered. He couldn't really get space and time on the ball or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, that switch turned, and Kolomuani, what a performance he had for France. He was able to draw that penalty, and then after that, it's pretty much a repeat of the Dutch game. But yeah, I want to give credit to Lionel Scaloni because he pretty much has transformed this Argentinian side. And obviously, look, Messi deserves a lot of credit as well for doing what he did. But I don't think this team does what they did. Whether it's in the Copa America, the
Without him, yeah.
Finalissima, and now winning the World Cup without Scaloni. This is a great manager, great international manager, a guy who tactically gets it spot on when he needs to, and a guy that's not afraid to make bold decisions, like starting Angel Di Maria in the final when he hasn't played since the group stage. A lot of people would question that decision. I mean, we know Di Maria is a great player, how important he's been for Argentina throughout his whole career, especially looking back to the Copa America against Brazil. He scored the winning goal in that match. But to put him in this match, into the fire, not playing since the group stage, some would scratch their head, say it's a bold decision. Scaloni gets it spot on again. He seems to get these bold decisions perfect every single time. And you have to tip your cap. Argentina do not do what they've done, winning these 3 international trophies in, I think, it's just as many years, without Scaloni. They just don't. What a manager. And I hope he stays at Argentina for many years to come because I think he can continue to lead this team to success. So he got it tactically spot on, and I was a little bit disappointed with France for the most part. I think Deschamps, he kind of was the opposite. I think he got it a little bit spot off for the most part. I think the fact that he had to sub off Ousmane Dembele and Giroud within 40 minutes speaks volumes about what he did tactically in this match. And to be
I
fair,
think those are the right decisions, though. To be fair, I
yeah,
mean,
but you could
he
make
put
no.
out his strongest 11.
But look, if we're saying that Giroud, he had to be subbed off because he had a little knock, he wasn't 100%. Maybe he shouldn't have been starting in the first place. Kolo Muani changed the game. And he was coming off of a goal in the semifinal, and this is the guy who look, he gave this Argentinian defense nightmares. I mean, Romero. and Otamendi, they're not going to be able to look over their
Oh
shoulder
God.
anymore without seeing Kolo Muani right there chasing after him. He changed the game for the France team. And to be fair, he drew that penalty, and then it's so unfortunate because he had such a great game for the moment of the match. Emi Martinez getting that save against him when it's 3-3 right before it goes to
My
penalties. That's the
God.
save of the match right there. I mean, you talk about the
It
penalties,
was at the
whatever.
100. It was at the 125th minute,
I mean,
124th
that's
minute,
what I'm trying to
literally
say.
stoppage
That
time.
that
Oh my
is
God.
that's the game right there. And for a guy who had such a great game coming on as a sub, you would have potentially expected him to bury it. Emi
Yeah, but
Martinez makes a
I do
fantastic
think
save.
I do think he did make the right decisions. I mean, he made
I don't.
perfect changes to the game. I
But
think
but
I do have
my
to give
thing
him
is
credit. I don't think. What were
my
you
thing
saying?
is that he should have potentially started these guys in the first place instead of having to sub them on
You
when you're
you
2-0
you, you
down.
could you could say that, but I think
I don't
just
think. I
it's
think.
Olivier Giroud though. To be fair,
Yeah.
even if he's like semi 50, maybe 60%,
Ah.
you
I don't
gotta
know.
you gotta start your all time leading goal scorer. You have to.
You know.
Maybe you could say it differently for Dembele, but we know the class of Dembele. We know how good he can be when he's
On
playing
his
well
day, when he's on form.
on his
Yeah.
day. But I think as far as team selection, even if we're only somewhat speculating that Giroud was, I
It
think
was
we
100%
kind of
injured. Yeah.
yeah,
We
I
don't
think
know.
we
We
kind
don't
of
know for
do
sure.
know. We don't know the extent of it, but I think as far as player choice wise, he made the right decisions. But I think it's valiant that even after going 2-0 down, he makes those changes and they're immediately back in this game. It's completely different. So I do have to give him, Deschamps a lot of credit for that. Camavinga came on. Camavinga played well.
That's
Bro,
one that I'll say. Camavinga was a perfect decision.
and I was like, my God, man, like literally, I thought Camavinga should have been playing more, but obviously because he's a Madrid guy, but my God, how annoying he was. Because obviously I'm watching this. I want Argentina to put this game to bed, and Camavinga every single time
He's
was just
pocketing.
he was disrupting everything. He was an ultimate disruptor, getting in everywhere,
And I thought it was a little
and
bit head scratching for him to be playing left back, but it worked.
that that at that point, I think that late in the game, everybody's so tired. They're like, fuck it. You just go out there. You play where you have to play. You play where the ball is. That's what
And that's what
And that's
Camavinga
what I
did.
do like. That's what the game ultimately almost came down to in the final minutes, to where it was
Because
positionless. It
it
was
was
just like
literally it was
everybody
just
just
back
go
and
get
forth.
it.
It was back and
Yeah,
forth.
yeah. And another thing I totally forgot, dude. If Messi would have lost this game, dude, he going into penalties. That the fact that Coleman stripped him of the ball
Oh
to
yeah.
lead to that,
Oh yeah.
I could. Oh my God, I did not want to have to see that shit.
I didn't
I didn't
either.
want to see that shit over Twitter, man. Over all that, but oh my God. I'm glad it's over, dude. I'm glad I don't have that stress on my heart no more.
I mean, I'm just glad that. I mean, look. To be fair to both of us, we predicted this, So hey, I'm giving myself a pat on the back. We predicted this. Did I
Yeah.
think
No,
it was going to happen in this exact way? Of course not, but I'm taking it.
we were fairly close. I mean, we were both a goal off. I mean,
No,
I
no, no.
was
To
four
be
three.
fair,
You were 3-2.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I probably would have predicted my 3-2 to be a little bit more of a controlled match than what it was. That was end to end. I mean, heart racing
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, absolutely unbelievable. I mean, to be fair, I'm still a little bit in shock, about what I've seen. Even when you watch the highlights, it's like, did this really happen?
I'm gonna be rewatching the highlights a lot today, just because I I got
It feels surreal, to be honest. I mean, look,
yeah.
I think anytime you see a sporting event, not even just sporting event, an event that great, that was just so mind-boggling, end to end, so much going on. It takes a while to process it.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I think it just takes a while to process what we've just seen. Especially, look, we both like Messi. I think we've been potentially rooting for this for so long. For him to win a World Cup and for it to actually happen. When I saw on my TV screen Argentina 2022 World Cup champions, I'm like, what? I can't believe this, bro. I never thought I would see the day.
Finally, bro, fucking took so long. And
And
I mean, before I cut you off a little bit, there's
no,
a
no,
chance they can go defend their Copa America title. Look,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
think
in the U.S.
I think there's a high possibility, and we will be going to that. We're gonna be there. No matter, I don't give a shit what
The
it takes.
final?
I'm gonna go. I don't give a shit. I don't care, because this was Messi's last dance for the World Cup. This will be his last dance, period, internationally. This will be his last international
Is he
tournament.
coming back for that for sure though?
I believe he is. I
Believe
believe
so?
he is. I think it's not that far down the line, I hope he does.
I
There was a
wouldn't be
part of
surprised if
me
he
that
didn't though.
I would say the same. I was going to say I wouldn't be surprised if he just called it a career, boom,
Right
done.
now,
Off the World Cup.
I wouldn't
I'm
blame him.
done. Yeah, I'm done. But I do hope he does. He does come back for the Copa America because we're us being in the States, we were lucky to have it here, and unfortunately we get the World Cup when Messi and Ronaldo are
Messi retired.
retired.
Yeah, we get to
We're
see
the
Mbappe
really
though.
the we get to see Mbappe, but unfortunately we're not going to really get that. People got Messi and Ronaldo, but we're not really going
Yeah,
to get to see Mbappe Holland because Holland, unfortunately, his national team ain't it, ain't it.
we'll see if
But
Norway can qualify. To be fair, we'll
we'll
see.
we'll, we'll, we'll
No, but I
see.
mean, no, it's a 60. What is it? 64 team world. If Norway can't qualify for a 64
They,
team World Cup, bro, I don't know what to say.
I don't know. They're changing the
They're
rules
not.
to get
They're
them
not
in
that
there.
bad.
Right. But I think in the bigger picture of things, we obviously talk about how this ended the GOAT conversation for who's the greatest of all time. But I think this did change and change things what I believed, because I think for now on everybody's vying for number two. That's what football is. Who's going to be that number two? And I think Mbappe made a very good statement to put his hat in there that he's going to challenge Cristiano Ronaldo as the second best player of all time because their games are very similar, but we never seen this from Ronaldo, especially for his international team. And to be fair, France is very stacked. It's very fortunate that Mbappe has this crop of guys, and I think he'll always be competitive in World Cups if because French have just so much talent and they have so much young players. I mean, they still got Chumani, they got Nkunku, they got a lot of guys coming through that are still young and very good.
Yeah,
So there's a possibility the next World Cup could be Mbappe's as well. But
wouldn't be surprised.
you know, I wouldn't be surprised, but I think that's the conversation that's going to be held next. That can Mbappe surpass Cristiano? Because I see that's a real possibility. And I mean, I've gone on and said Cristiano Ronaldo is the greatest goal scorer I've ever seen in my entire life. But this Mbappe, man, it's immaculate.
To do what
It's
he did,
remarkable.
I
It's
mean, look,
remarkable
the hat trick in the final. I mean, he's already got the most World Cup final goals of all time. He's
of
23.
all
He
time.
might play another one.
Yeah,
And it's mind boggling to a certain extent. And look, Mbappe did change the narrative for me as well. And I think we both came on here and said, and look, I'm not saying France isn't a stacked team, but we both said France is a stacked team, and they, to a certain extent they are. But this was a stacked team that was uninspired for 75 minutes of this
yeah,
game. And Mbappe, look, he didn't win the first penalty or anything, but he scored that penalty, and against Emi Martinez, that's no easy thing to do. And so he scores that penalty. He puts the team on his back, scores the penalty, and then I mean, we already talked about it. The wonder finish of the second goal within a minute of him scoring the penalty puts the team on his back. And then when they're down and out, Messi scores what we thought was the winning goal in extra time. He once again wins the penalty, by forcing the handball, and then puts it away with another penalty. He put the team on his back. So look, we can say France is a stacked team, but he carried this stacked team today. He was the reason that they were even in this game at that point. He put the team on his back. And I got to give him a lot of credit for that because, look, you can have a stacked team, but then there's a difference between having a stacked team and then carrying said stacked team. And he was the best player on this stacked team by far.
yeah.
No question. So I 100% agree. Messi's my GOAT. It's going to take a lot for somebody to even sniff Messi now, especially. But I think Mbappe has a very, very good chance of getting to that number two because we don't know what else he's going to be able to do in his career. He's still so young. And, obviously a lot of it will come down to the longevity question. And we talked about this before. To even come close to Messi and Ronaldo, you have to be so good for so long. You have to stay fit. No big injuries, anything like that. That's what I think it's going to come
Yeah,
down to. If Mbappe is fit and
yeah.
healthy for the same time as Messi and Ronaldo were, there's no doubt for me he's going to end up becoming the second best player of all time.
Because
Because I think
we're gonna have to see him adjust his game as well. Because right
that's
now,
that's another good
speed is
point.
a huge of his game. I
No,
mean, same with
that's
Cristiano
where
Ronaldo.
that's what
Yeah,
I was going to
because
say.
the most comparable person that is to
It's
Mbappe is
Cristiano
maybe like
Ronaldo.
Thierry Henry and Cristiano Ronaldo.
Exactly,
And we
100%.
saw Cristiano Ronaldo have to adjust his game because he wasn't the fastest player
Yeah,
on the pitch no
and he
more.
did that so well. That's a lot of people don't
Yeah,
give him his credit for that. Like he did that so well. And I texted this out today. I
and
said
same
Mbappe's
thing with
gonna have to
Messi. I
adjust his
mean,
game. Yeah, no, he
yeah,
adjusted his game
like
as well in a different way.
yeah, because that's what great players have to do. I mean, you're not 23 forever.
No,
So that's where a lot of it going to tell. Let's see if he can. I'm sure he can, but we'll have to see how great he can be towards the later end.
No, 100%. It's going to come down to how well he can adjust his game, and all things considered, I think look, I think this year's Ballon d'Or is unfortunately, for him is going to be Messi's based on what just happened. What he's going to win, and even if PSG do win the Champions League, so does Messi. Messi's on PSG with them, so I think this Ballon d'Or is going to go to Messi. It's going to be his eighth, but I think after that, he's going to have a good chance at winning a lot of Ballon d'Ors. I think he can catch up to Ronaldo rather easily based on what we've been seeing. And this guy's not even at his prime yet. That's the scariest thing to think about. This guy's not even at his prime, and we've seen how good he can be on this type of stage. So I think he's got a lot of great years to come as long as he can stay fit. And Ronaldo, he might have someone that's going to come take over his spot as number 2 of all time. I wouldn't be surprised.
Absolutely, but I hate to have to cut this short. I do have a couple other things to do. I was glad we were able to get this short episode in to give our thoughts. Football is king. Love football.
You there?
And I
Oh,
do
you
kind
go.
of I feel kind of bad for having to try to wrap this one up a bit quicker than.
You
Oh
lag,
yeah,
bro.
I'm lagging out here. Yeah, but my internet's about to die. Yeah. What did I cut out or something, or what
No, yeah,
happened?
you froze on my screen or whatever, but it'll be all right.
Oh god. No, yeah, but I hate to have to like cut this short, and because I do have something else I have to do today. But I'm glad that we were able to get on and give our thoughts on this game.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. This was the initial thoughts, and obviously we got more content coming out soon, so it probably won't be the last time we
Well,
get
yeah,
to
we'll probably have another full episode, and we'll probably touch upon it. But we do
touch
have,
upon it
you
again,
know,
and we'll probably got some other things in the world of football to talk about as well, such as we'll talk about this. I know we're gonna talk about this. Garrett Southgate, he's coming back as England manager. I want to talk about that. So many other things in
mhm.
the world of football and sports in general we want to talk about. So I'm sure we'll be able to get into that. I don't know when we're gonna record said episode, but we wanted to get out this World Cup final initial thoughts as soon as possible because this was the greatest event we've ever seen, and
Yeah,
I was dying to talk about it. To be fair,
yeah, absolutely.
so you know, is outroing this one a little bit differently than we would have pod. We appreciate the
Yeah,
continued support that we've been getting on all the videos of the channel, and we appreciate this amount of subscribers and support we've gained from this World Cup. I think that's the perfect way to end this, seeing as this might be probably the second to last time we talk about the World Cup because we will touch on it in the pod, but we've gained so much throughout this World Cup. Some of our most viewed videos of all time on the channel, the amount of subscribers we've gained, the amount of support we've gained. We continue to appreciate everyone who hits that subscribe button during the World Cup. And we hope y'all are gonna stick around and tune into what we have to say because club football is back. You know what I mean?
it's
We're getting
back.
right back into
Yeah,
club football. Champions League is right around the corner. February ain't that long from now. Champions League right around the corner. The Premier League, La Liga, it's all coming back now. So we got a lot of more football to talk about and so much other things to talk about. But we just witnessed greatness today. So
absolutely.
go ahead and you got any final words?
Other than agreeing with you, we appreciate you guys to go through this World Cup with us. We much love for all you guys, but like we said, it's not we're not done. We're not going anywhere. We got club football. I mean, that's what international football is untouched, but gotta love some club football. I
Who
love
doesn't
me
love
some
some club
Champions
football? Who
League.
doesn't love
Yeah,
the Champions League, bro? And the
yeah.
storylines are now going back into club football are great. So there's so much to talk about. I'm sure we'll probably talk about it. What is PSG gonna look like? Because look, if I'm
We're
Mbappe,
still
bro, I'm heated, bro.
well. Training's got to be awkward, man. I mean,
I know it's gonna be a little awkward. I wish I could be a fly on the wall in that dressing room. But all things concerned, we'll probably have some more content coming out, today, tomorrow, whatever, very very soon. That's what I'll say. And look, we appreciate the continued support. Thanks for checking out this video of Shoot It
Qatar.
Straight, and and shout out Qatar. And
Shout
look,
out Qatar.
make sure you tune into the next episode of the podcast. I'm not sure when it's coming out. We'll probably talk about that in a little bit here, behind closed doors here. But look, just thanks again to everybody, and look, we'll see y'all next time for the next episode of the podcast.
See ya.